everybody. We're live on Facebook. This is Al Martin. My special guest is Linda Marcus, and we're coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Right here at the Stratosphere.
Yes, Stratus. I know that place very well. I'll tell you a very funny story about the Stratosphere.
Yes.
My wife and I got married in Vegas right after 9/11. And when they first started taking flights, we went down there. We got married by a minister in one of those chapels. And Elvis, there was an Elvis impersonator singing there. That guy wound up in the movie When Fools Rush In with Matthew Perry and
Yes.
Selma Hayek. But that night, after the whole thing was over, we went to the Stratosphere, the restaurant, all the way on the top, the revolving restaurant. All of a sudden, we hear rumbling going on in the restaurant. I thought another plane was going into the Stratosphere. Nobody told me they put a roller coaster on top of that thing.
My gosh. They have that thing running now again, and everybody goes up there to ride on it, not me.
They also have bungee jumping up there.
Yes.
Where I think they attach a camera to your helmet and you can live stream to your followers that you're 100 stories up in the air, bungee jumping off the Stratosphere in Vegas.
Oh my gosh.
Cuckoo, cuckoo.
I've gone up to the second floor and done comedy. That's as much as I can handle.
Who's running the comedy club there now? They've had a few people running it through the years, I think, right?
Yeah, and I can't remember the person's name, but he's super nice, the manager. There's like 2 owners and a manager.
Yeah,
then,
I think I might know the person, but I can't, off the top of my head, think about who it is.
Yeah, and I'm drawing a blank in the moment, but they're so nice, Al. They really, of all the clubs, they make it really like the most of the bigger clubs. They make it really a place for the locals.
That's great. You know, you have to target your market. I remember when the old Riv was in town, and years ago it used to be an Improv. And I did 20, the deal there was you had to do 21 shows a week. It would start at 7, 9, and 11. You only had to do a 15-minute spot, but afterwards you had to stand in the lobby and sign autographs on T-shirts that they were selling. So your night started, you had to report at 6:30, and you didn't get out of there until the last show was over at 12:30, or it was 7, 9, and 11. Yeah, 12:30. Wow. And you did a total of 30, in 6.5 hours, you did a total of 30 minutes of comedy. Everything else was just waiting for the other acts to do their thing and sign autographs after the show and then get ready for the next show.
Wow.
7 nights a week.
I want to tell you that they let me do a set at the LA Comedy Club. I got on a show, and when I got done, the booker told me I killed. How is that? I've arrived.
You've arrived. How long have you been doing stand-up now?
6 years. But at first 5.5 years, I was using notes because I have a brain injury. And now I was like, I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm not looking at notes. So it's gotten a lot better since I quit looking at notes.
That's great. That's great. Whatever you have to do to make it work, you're doing it.
And I saw a video today of you talking about the biggest mistake that comics make when they start out. And I was wondering if you could elaborate, because that's a huge mistake. I like that.
Yeah, I think I did that video a few years ago. It's on YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah, so the biggest mistakes that comics have, and I had this originally when I started out, you're so gung-ho and you're so ambitious that you try to you take a scattered approach, and you start doing every club. Like if you're in New York, you'll do Broadway Comedy Club, Comic Strip, Stand Up New York Comedy Club, Greenwich. You hit them all, right?
Yes.
So what happens is you hit them at their open mics or new talent showcases. And now what you've done is you've accomplished is you've allowed 6 comedy clubs in Manhattan to see you when you're first starting out. So one of my rules is don't do the scatter approach. try to find one or two comedy clubs or small rooms or produce shows that you're comfortable with. Start there and, just keep doing it. Much like I think you do Gladys's show a lot, right?
Yes,
Over
I
at the
do.
comic strip, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So Gladys, 30, I'll say 30 years. I don't want to get in any further trouble with her. A 30-year reputation of nurturing talent. So what basically happens is you learn your craft at Gladys's room. You kind of make your mix, and then you move on to other venues. And instead of 6 clubs seeing you when you first start, have 1 or 2 clubs seeing you when you first start. So you've done some damage control on your career, and not too many people see you when you suck. The goal is as few people see you when you suck, and the more people should see you when you're better. And hit those other clubs once you're ready. Because you want me to see when I'm watching you, you want me to say, wow, where's this person been all this time? Where have you been hiding, and then book you.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. That's a big mistake. I see that. I want to know what's we were going to talk about your book that's out there, but before I go to that, I want you to cover what is it people are talking about when they say, because I'm pretty new at this. People
okay.
throw the term out, you need to know how to read the room. And they never
Yes.
tell you that when you're doing good. They tell you that when you're new and you're bombing. But they don't tell you how to read a room. They just say you
Sure.
just need to do it. So you got advice on that, don't you?
Sure, of course. So one of the things I talk about in that chapter that I recently did a reading of chapter 2 of the book online, and I talked about the things you can do to make yourself a better comic, and not as much of a pain in the neck, and someone that'll do better. And one of those things is try to arrive, you know, like I was a bad example. I was 15 minutes late today for your interview, but
Okay.
you know, uh, try if you have a 2 o'clock. A 10 o'clock spot at a club. Try to arrive at 9:45, and don't have the same excuse every night. You got caught in the subways and they were delayed, or you got in traffic and it was a traffic nightmare. If you're performing in New York where there are those kind of issues, leave a half hour earlier. Leave 45 minutes. Get to that gig 15 minutes early. Go into the showroom and watch the audience. See who's in the audience, what is in the audience. Because as a comedian, you have to have more than one plan. Your plan is to go up there and do your material, of course. But what if there are some audiences that don't buy your material? They're not listening. So you want to be able to work the room. So you want to be able to study who are the people in the room that you think you can bounce off of. Play with them a little bit, if there's a redhead, you might want to do a Lucy reference. I don't know, If there's 2 old people and the whole audience is very young, you might want to work on them a little bit. But, that's one thing you could do. The second thing in reading a room is talk to the other comics that have been on the show. Ask them, or the MC. How are they? Are they tight? Are they listening to material? Are they responding? Who's responding? The person, that person on the right. One of the things I always caution comics about, it's a natural tendency for us as comedians to want to play to the audience that's not listening to us, that's not laughing. We have such a need for attention and validation that if we see a room of 70 people laughing, we try to naturally go after the 2 that are not. We're bothered by it. Like, hey, why aren't you finding me funny? The worst thing you can do as a comic is to play to the people that are not laughing at you. Only concentrate on the ones that are laughing. Because if people are laughing and you ignore them to try to get the 2 people that are not laughing, you're going to wind up losing everybody. And then you're in trouble. So reading a room is just basically, are they going for clean material? Do they seem to? Is it an older? Because not every audience fits. It's not one size fits all. You can walk into a room. The audience you have on the 8 o'clock show on a Saturday night is going to be very different than the 10:30 show on a Saturday night. Demographically speaking, especially where you get a lot of older people or more mature people at 8 o'clock. At 10:30, it's maybe a rowdier crowd. So they might want you to open up a little bit where the older audience might not feel that way. But that's not always the truth. Sometimes there are rowdy older people. So, you have to get to the room early and study the audience, see what's working, see what's not, and then go with the strengths that you have that could fit that audience.
And if you don't, like, if you can tell that the room wants filthy, dirty material and you're not a filthy, dirty comic, you can still do other stuff that will, if you deliver it right, it will come across like it's filthy.
Yeah, double entendres certainly could work. Just playing around with a couple of people in the audience, I mean, and trying to figure out what you could do with them. A lot of times, one of the things that a developing comic can do is come to the show at a club, any club. Usually they're accommodating if you're a comic and let you sit in the back, if especially on an off night, and watch the MC. See if they're, watch the good MCs, because there's a lot of bad ones out there. And it's an art that's not really encouraged as much anymore, but the really good MCs, watch them and see what they do, and see how they work the audience into the show. And it's something you could really learn from. They might have instructional videos on YouTube on how to MC and get an audience wound up. They have instructional videos on everything else in the world.
I love MCing. I think that is the lost soul of comedy. I mean, to be able to get a crowd to gel as one unit and welcome the comics and, be willing to sit there for an hour. It's an honor to be a host or an MC.
One of the things I think about doing sometimes when I want to go back on stage and do stand-up, to stay sharp as a stand-up, you really have to get up there multiple times a week. And I'll be honest with you, at this stage of my life, I don't really want to go up 4 or 5 times a week, or go deal with Manhattan traffic or whatever's going on. So sometimes I think, what, as I've gotten older, I think I might want to start, emceeing some of the shows at my club, bringing up the comics, introducing them. It allows me to be at the club for a few hours, watch things, see what's going on, and, see all the comics throughout the night. But, also work on doing some stand-up without having to rehearse a lot, because, a lot of times emceeing is just working the spur of the moment.
Yes. So I want to talk about your book the rest of the time, because without putting you on the spot, here's his book. I did it on a dare.
How I built a comedy empire in 30 short years.
In 30 short years.
Yeah.
And you wrote this book during the pandemic. You had it on your mind, but you got the time to do it thanks to the pandemic, right?
Yes. I had really not a whole lot to do. Well, you know what? It turned out I did have a lot to do. Busy with paperwork for, grants for the clubs and the loans, and making sure that we helped out the staff where we could. Filling out unemployment papers for them, a food drive we did, working on some online content for our 2 websites and social media pages, negotiating with my landlords and vendors so we can assure a good cash flow to be able to open whenever that time was. And quite honestly, we were hoping that we would be open by the end of July, early August, the way that New York City was hitting its various marks and metrics for the pandemic. The numbers have been going down. I think in all of New York State yesterday, I think they lost 5 people, 5 deaths to COVID, down from a high of about 800. So we naturally thought we were on par to open up according to the various phases. And then at the last second, the governor threw us all a curveball. Suddenly, being indoors seemed to be the public enemy of all of this. And they opened phase four without indoor dining or indoor entertainment. And not only that, but they said all of that is closed indefinitely. So I don't know what that means. I mean, my usual term of indefinitely is forever, I mean, I don't know, what they're thinking of, but it kind of annoys me when you tell me that I have to close indefinitely, but I can go to Penn Station every morning or, Grand Central Station and see hundreds of people walking through a terminal or people on a New York City subway where homeless people might have been sleeping overnight. That's okay to do. Sitting on an airplane 3 across, I can't think of anything more conducive to disease than that.
Exactly.
And then they turn around and tell me I have to close, or businesses like mine have to close. So, department stores, some of them are open. Why is Walmart allowed to open and Target is allowed to open, but other retailers can't? Or my little, 60-seat Greenwich Village Comedy Club at 25% is 15 seats. So I don't get it. I really don't understand it. At the last second, they came up with something about air conditioning spreads droplets. What do you mean? It's not spreading droplets in Grand Central Station? It's not spreading droplets in the museums?
Thank you.
What? Yeah. So I don't get it.
I don't
Are
get
you
it
telling me
either.
every one of these businesses bought at the last minute when all of this was announced infrared systems and filtration systems? I mean, something is just not sitting right with me with all of this.
Exactly. And I think the hardest thing is that when is it going to reopen for you? And like you have no answers.
I don't have an answer. For
Yeah.
the first time in my life, people are asking me, "Well, when are you reopening?" If I followed my government's direction all along, it was supposed to be early August or late July. So a lot of restaurants went out in anticipation of indoor dining returning and spent, $10,000-$20,000 on meats and produce and fish. They order this stuff, and then like 2 days before, the governor announces we're not doing indoor dining. We're not ready for that. Now, here's another question: why can Ruth Chris open in Westchester and White Plains and in Long Island at 25% capacity, but it can't open at 25% capacity in Manhattan? What are you saying? The people in Manhattan are more polluted than the people in Westchester? I mean, what is that? I don't get it. I don't understand the hypocrisy. If you're going to say air conditioning, isn't air conditioning upstate the same air conditioning? Or I don't know what I don't get it. The whole thing
Makes no sense.
is not making any sense to me. And then they make this governor here a hero, like he's the greatest thing since rye bread because he decided to have a press conference every day. And meanwhile, he put thousands of people in nursing homes who wound up dying. And the state of New York economy is in serious trouble. They don't talk about that now. You've got 50% of the restaurants in New York City will not reopen when this is all over. So you've got restaurants who are going to go under. The landlords that they're paying are not going to get their rents. A lot of the offices are not going back because they figured out the emperor wore no clothes. They figured out, hey, we don't have to be in Manhattan to operate. We have something that was just invented: Wi-Fi and a computer. We don't need to be in Manhattan. We can conference call on Zoom. What the hell do we need to be spending $2 million a year on office space in Manhattan? So now those businesses are leaving. The restaurants are closing. The perception of crime in New York is getting out of hand. The homeless are all over the place. The mentally ill are being released from mental wards. The prisoners are being released from the. It's a zombie land after 9 o'clock. I know at least 5 or 6 people, comedians, that have been assaulted in New York City after 8, 9 o'clock at night. It's so the people. No tourists are going to be coming in here for a while. There's no Broadway shows. The restaurants are closing. The locals are afraid to go out. So even if the Grand Poobah governor said I could reopen tomorrow, I'm not sure what I'm reopening to. 25% capacity and 100% of people that might not want to go out at night between tourists and locals. I mean, it's crazy. So
yes. So
I'm very pessimistic. Can you tell?
I don't blame you a bit. You've got a lot at stake, and they're not giving you any hope.
Yeah. A lot at stake. I have no hope. They're not telling me what I can do. I'm ready to do it whenever they tell me I'm ready. And other than that, I'm going on with my life for now. I'm just, I'm doing the Linda Marcus Smith show.
That's one thing I'm thankful for because of the pandemic. A lot of people are available.
Yeah, that's true. And one of the things I'm thinking about doing. Listen, one of my loves and passions, obviously, if you look at me, is food. So I'm thinking about doing a food show here online, and I'm trying to think whether I should do it in the form of a podcast or just Facebook Live. I did a Facebook Live the other day, and I think I got more eyeballs on it than most people get on their podcasts. So
wow.
I think that could be fun. I think I might have you on as a guest, although I'm always of the opinion that I'd rather get my food advice from heavier people because they usually know food. You talk to thin people, all they do is talk about, salads, and, so, but I would love to hear from you about, Vegas could be our thing one day. We can talk about great food in Vegas. By the way, Circus has a great steakhouse.
Do they? I'll have to go check it out.
Yes, they do. Now, the hotel is a dump. Nobody really likes it. It's really a dumpy place. It's like the foothills of Kentucky come to a casino, like that scene in Vegas Vacation, where the guy is putting the slop, all the slop from the buffet on the food. That's Circus, but they have a hidden gem there. One of the best steakhouses in town. I think it's called the Main Street Steakhouse. Okay. I think it's called.
I'll make sure to go look at it when I don't know that it's open yet, but when it does.
Yeah, who knows what's open anymore?
Yeah, I'll come on and tell you all the secrets of Vegas.
Yes.
I'll research it.
Absolutely.
I'm having fun in Vegas, though. I'll tell you.
How long have you been in Vegas?
I came here on a visit in October, and I got to meet everybody over at Tropicana, Harry Basil and the crew. And then I moved here in December. So
you did it on a dare. How I moved to Vegas.
Yes.
6 months. So here's a little tidbit about the Tropicana. Vegas had its early run in the early years where most of the casinos were like the Flamingo, the Dunes. There were even the original Riviera. They were all 4 or 5 stories high, low rises. The Tropicana was the first of the high-rise casinos to come to Las Vegas.
I'll be darned.
Yes. Now it's considered one of the last of the old days of Vegas, the old glamour days of the 60s and 50s when the mob ran Vegas. The Trop is one of the only places still standing of those houses.
Wow. That was the good old days, right?
Yeah. I think Binion's only has the casino and the restaurant left. I think the hotel is closed there, last I heard.
Yes.
And Main Street Station is, downtown is still happening. They got the Fremont Street experience, so people love that.
I'm a vendor at the Fremont Street. I go there and do comedy.
Oh, do you?
You can sign up to be. Yeah, you can. You can go and sign up online and be a regular down on the street, being a street comedian. So I've done it a couple times, and I'm going to go back.
The showrooms are closed now in terms of entertainment. Yeah.
Now, a lot of the places are not in Las Vegas proper, so they're getting away with having comedy shows, and they're saying that they're doing the 1/4 and wearing masks, but when you get in there, everybody takes their masks off and it's crowded. So
right, I'm looking at the casino behind you, and it looks kind of quiet.
It is.
Just an occasional person stroll. Wow, look how empty it is. How are they going to be able to survive? Well, during the day, it's not always that busy anyway, but people are
That's
at the
true.
pool or whatever. But, it still looks kind of depressing a little bit, huh?
Yeah, it is depressing. And people are depressed and stressed, and everybody's taking out their frustration on each other in this world.
Yeah, I think we really need to figure out a way to get us all back to work, because all this time on our hands, we're just all fighting a little too much, all getting a little too irritable, and it's not good.
Not good at all. So talk to me about your book sales. I did it on a dare.
It's been very good. The sales have been, a lot of people said to me, "Oh, you'll be lucky if you sell 10 books or 15 books." So we waste, always positive people in our lives, right?
Exactly.
The book is done well, and it's also done well from a spin-off perspective. I have one person that read the book and so believed in it that they've took it upon themselves to write a screenplay. So they're about halfway through the book and writing a screenplay for it. We hope to have it ready maybe, in October to try to pitch it. And he has a lot of good credits and a lot of good potential people that he could pitch it to. I almost had a reality show a number of years ago.
Really?
But yes, I had a pilot shot and an offer to sign the deal, but it's my fault. I backed away at the last minute because the amount of invasiveness in your life when you're involved in a reality show, there are cameras. I had a camera on me and my wife and on my family for 8 hours one day. Could you imagine living like that every day so they get enough footage to be able to do a season worth of TV shows? And then I saw so many people who were getting into marital problems from these reality shows that I said, you know what, this is just not worth it. I'm gonna lose my marriage. I'm gonna lose my privacy. I'm gonna be sitting in my couch in my underwear, and camera crew's gonna be coming by. I can't have that. So, but this screenplay could be something really nice. And somebody else saw the book, and they have their own distribution for books. So they're taking on the book and their distribution network for a documentary, on stand-up comedy that they're working on. So some of the residual stuff from the book has been absolutely terrific.
Fabulous.
Did I lose you or?
It froze up for a second, so I was trying to unfreeze you. I could hear you, but the video
went.
Can you see me
now? Okay.
I can see you now.
Okay. All right.
So what are some reviews that you've gotten about your book from groups of people, newspapers?
We have had really every review, knock on wood, has been a 5-star review on Amazon. There's been an online book club where someone did a review and 5 people read it or 6 people read it based on that review. So we're, closing in on about 30 reviews, I think. And all of them have been very positive, thank God. I can't complain. The reviews have been good. We've been getting good interviews. I'm very pleased with it. And I've learned a lot about marketing during this time and how important that is. And I thank God I studied it in college when I thought I was wasting my time 40 years ago.
Came in handy even now, right?
You sit there, everything in life I've learned everything in life you learn has a purpose sometime or another. I remember very vividly in high school, I came out of gym class, and boys really in that era loved gym class, and the girls maybe didn't love it so much. Now, from gym class, I had to go to typing class. The boys didn't like the typing class so much, but at the time, that was a career path for women, different eras. So before anybody gets angry at me, that was, in the 60s and 70s, there was a big career path where women went to secretarial school, they learned typing, they learned dictograph, whatever they were doing. So I was in typing class, and I remember yelling to one of the other kids with my sweatshirt on and all sweaty. I go, "What the hell am I doing in this stupid typing class? I'm never going to use typing in my whole life." 20 years later came along the PC, right? And now, 10 years after that, the smartphone, where I'm trying to type with my big fat fingers, texting. So whoever thought texting and smartphones and the PC would come along where I would really need to know how to type?
Jeez. So, what is the biggest thing you learned from doing your book that you didn't anticipate would be part of it?
I think typing. No, typing and getting it all down, and we all are idea people. We all in our own world have comedians and anybody with an artistic sense. We all have a million ideas. It's writing down those ideas. It's typing those ideas. It's uploading ideas and getting it to your editor. That all is uh, discipline. You have to have discipline to do that. And there were a lot of days I got up, I was depressed about work, not working. How am I going to pay bills? More importantly, how are my kids going to pay bills? And it was all very, very depressing, And then at the
Yes.
same time, trying to write the physical book when I wasn't the greatest typer in the world.
Wow. If I'd have been in New York, I'd have typed for you.
Thank you. Thank you. My wife wrote a terrific book that she's going to need to have uploaded to Amazon. So if you know anybody that's familiar with the technique, or anybody in your universe that knows how to upload something to Amazon, let me know. We'll gladly pay for that,
I'll ask around.
Yeah, or if anybody listening,
When you say upload it to Amazon, not typing, but your wife's typed it in it.
Everything in her book has been typed and been through an editor. We've had an editor. We have the forward is written. Everything is written. Everything is done. It just needs to be the physical pages in the physical book, and the payment information and all that. The nuts and bolts has to be uploaded onto Amazon.
I got a tech guy, and he takes these videos and turns them into sitcom looking things, and I'll ask him to research it and get back to you.
Oh, that would be great.
His name's Adam Dominguez, and I'll get him to look into that.
Is he out of Vegas, out of New York, or
yes,
Vegas? Which one? The Vegas?
Oh, sorry, he's out of Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah, he's originally from Texas, but he can take nothing and turn it into something beautiful. So
wow.
I know he can research how to do that, or talk to other people. And this is how he got his degree with this kind of stuff.
That's great. That's great.
I'll ask him to get a hold of you and research it.
Thank you.
Yes. So what do you want to tell people other than go buy the book? I did it on a dare.
Buy the book. Did it on a dare. It's available on Amazon. It's available in softcover, and it's available on Kindle. It's available on audiobook on iTunes. So, did it on a dare. How I built a comedy empire in 30 short years. And always stay tuned to BroadwayComedyClub.com and GreenwichVillageComedyClub.com for the latest content and up-to-date info on those two clubs. And catch me on Facebook when I start my food show.
Yes, that'll
Not
be
cooking.
awesome.
I don't want to cook. It's too hot to cook. I'm going to restaurants. I'm take it from a fat guy. Always get the best food reviews from a fat guy. I don't want thin people on my show anyway. You're too thin. You would be too thin. Although every once in a while, Linda, you run into thin people that can eat like a racehorse. And that's very impressive to me.
I love food. I know a lot about food. I haven't been thin. I was always the biggest person in any room. And then I changed my thinking. I decided to tell myself I'm not hungry. It worked.
You see, the problem with me is so much of my social activity revolves around food. So if I cut food out entirely, I think I would get mentally depressed. But I think what I could learn to do is smaller portions, eat slower. I don't have to eat like a gavone, like 900 pounds of food at one time. Slow it down, Allie, slow it down.
I used to eat and the plate was be full to the brim, and then I'd eat a couple candy bars and drink a couple Cokes. So
a couple of little slick moves some very successful people taught me in terms of changing their lifestyle. Before you sit down and eat, have a club soda that really kind of fills you up. The bubbles fill you up. And if you're cooking for yourself, get smaller plates.
Yes.
Fill up smaller plates. And half of that plate should be nice vegetables that you like. And so if half the plate is there's a guy, a comic in New York, I used to follow his Weight Watchers success story, and half his plate would be vegetables. And then he'd have a protein and then a little bit of a starch, but it was a very well-balanced meal, and he used smaller plates, and that was the key.
That's it.
Did I freeze again?
Yeah, you froze up on me. Well, I should probably head on out of here. The hour is up, but I'm telling you, I'm going to keep posting because this is Al Martin by his book. I did it on a dare day. So I'm going to keep posting it. I want people to go buy it.
So nice of you. You're great, Linda. Anytime. I love being with you here. I love seeing the casino in the background.
Yeah, man.
Go play 7-Eleven, right? Okay.
Thank you so much, Al Martin. Go buy his book. I Did It on a Dare.
How I Built a Comedy Empire in 30 Short Years.
How I Built a Comedy Empire in 30 Short Years. There you go. Thank you, Al Martin.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Everybody's talking.